I was set the task of describing the most pressing challenge in terrestrial mountain rescue. Mountain rescue started as a terrestrial activity, frequently stimulated by mountaineering doctors as they sought to bring their skills to the patient. Here in a picture from the early 1960s, when many of you weren't born, Dr. Ogilvie, the founder of my mountain rescue team, uses his communication skills to raise awareness and money for his fledgling rescue team. This is a pattern that happened throughout Europe. Doctors were involved. Needless to say, the doctor's the one in the tie. For the camera. Oh, God. Oh, dear. Right, helicopter assistance and then helicopter-led mountain rescue became more prevalent as helicopters became more available and more able to operate in the mountain environment. Though political, organizational, and personal egos have polarized mountain rescue into ground or air, in essence, mountain rescue has almost always been a multi-agency, multidisciplinary mission. Open exchange, a common technical language, mutual respect and understanding, and joint training are markers of mature and resilient systems. Within mountain rescue, the International Commission for Alpine Rescue, ICAR, promotes a platform for real-time knowledge exchange with the aim of improving standards. That's all we do. It's got 4 commissions: terrestrial, avalanche, air, and medical, covering all aspects of mountain rescue. Today, ICAR has 103 member organizations in 37 countries. When I started practicing medicine in 1984, I learned from colleagues or books and went out and did. We learned procedural sedation, relocating dislocated shoulders, applying masked suits, large volume infusion. These were just procedures that we'd read about and we tried out. There was barely any compulsory certification or peer oversight of what we did. Our own personal mistakes were learning points to stimulate, to develop better care. Mountain rescue was an extension of this unregulated system where we tried to do the things that we were doing in hospital, which we thought was better for the patients, albeit in a more extreme environment. Here we see a doctor squeezing in colloid, which I'm sure none of you use nowadays, shortly after the multi-trauma casualty has been transferred into the vehicle to get him further down the hill. At the time, that involved an obligatory, there was no choice in this, 30-degree head-up tilt. Needless to say, these patients didn't like that, and that's why they're squeezing it. This is now designed out of the system. You can't do this anymore. As hospitals tighten their governance and accountability with certification, guidelines, protocols, standard operating procedures, and medical schools embraced a new form of medical practitioner, mountain rescue could be seen as one of the last bastions of old-fashioned practice, where you're shielded from everything extraneous. This cannot be said to be true anymore. Why? Firstly, because it's wrong. Unsupported practice does not enshrine safe practice, and it certainly doesn't enshrine evidence-based practice. Lessons learned are not disseminated, and the same mistakes are made time and time and time again until there's a fuss. The best example in our field, I suppose, is the US Congress inquiry into HEMS crashes, when in the States they got up to 50 deaths in 1 year. And then they asked, why? Secondly, nowadays, the digital world means that you are never alone. And I will demonstrate that later. Terrestrial mountain rescue teams are aging in almost all countries. Where are the young people on this slide? That's their ages in decades at the bottom there. One 30-year-old measured by one 80-year-old. This is a terrestrial rescue team. This is a consequence of the social and demographic change that has been particularly marked in the mountainous regions of developed countries. You take the mountainous regions of your own countries, that's where the most expensive houses are, that's where you retire to. That happens all throughout the world. We're looking at people that are older. As a consequence, applying ICAR Medcom's 2001 statement, emergency doctors should be comfortable in exposed situations, must be conscious of their own safety and that of the patient, and be able to work under extreme conditions, has become more difficult, particularly bearing in mind the physical fitness required for terrestrial team members. A few years ago, we assessed the workload of a typical terrestrial rescue. The average age of the participants, our team at the time, was 46 years. The average VO2 max was 53, which is pretty good. It was the same as naval firefighters that were 20 years younger. During a simulated rescue with a 54-minute ascent, carrying rescue loads of 17% of your body mass, we had an average peak of VO2 of 52 mils per kilogram per minute. Our workload intensity was hard or very hard for more than 80% of the ascent. That's almost an hour. It is estimated that less than 5% of a relevant general population could match that degree of endurance. So you're talking about small numbers of people, and once you've added in mainly retired, you're struggling a bit. To my mind, this creates the most pressing challenge in terrestrial rescue, in mountain rescue in general, even in the HEMS-based systems. And that's inspiring and encouraging doctors with an interest in mountaineering to become committed mountain rescuers. This applies to many developed rescue systems, and perhaps even more acutely to fledgling services in resource-poor countries. Keeping trained mountain medicine doctors in countries such as Nepal, as we see here, is hard when personal and family gain is available abroad. These are intelligent guys that have been trained up, many of them. This one actually does work in Nepal, but most of his colleagues work in US, Canada, Poland, Munich, etc. So very, very difficult keeping them where we would like, where we intended them to stay, as it were. With the changes in a medical school curriculum, we also need to widen the skill set of those performing medical procedures in an unsupervised environment, and their appreciation of the importance of human resource management through teaching and practice, whether this be in Nepal, Europe, Japan. To To illustrate this, and perhaps to break up your day a bit, I'd like to look at one specific mission from a crew resource management perspective. This is the incident, and this is where it is. So we're talking about a fall. You can see the circle and a little fall arrow there. A 60-year-old man has a tumbling fall, 30 to 50 meters in the location shown. He does have multiple blunt injuries. There's no active bleeding points, and there's minimal blood on the floor. If you go on a rescue and there's a lot of blood around, there's a lot of blood around. The resources on site are two teams, a mountain rescue team and HEMS team. So we've got 2 doctors, 2 paramedics, 12 technical rescuers, and a pilot. There's 1 team on its way, a military search and rescue helicopter, 2 pilots, 1 navigator, 1 winchman paramedic. Quite a lot of people. The weather's going to have a significant impact on the rescue. Needless to say, we don't have pictures during a rescue, normally. So there we go. The cloud level was down to an altitude of 750 meters. So we had a 200-meter, 45-degree mixed ground descent down the fall line before we could get anywhere near a helicopter. The wind was not too bad for us, 40 to 60 kilometers an hour. Temperature 2 degrees. It was an unpleasant day, but it wasn't terrible. Differing views emerged within and between the rescue teams, as you would expect, from coming from different areas and different ideas. I polarized them to make it clear. This isn't them v us. This is what people are thinking about. View A, traumatic cardiac arrest, imminent. GCS is less than 8. That must mean a head injury. So standard treatment, oxygen-assisted ventilation, intubation, RSI, drugs, reassess, need for, and I'll put inverted commas around likely further interventions. Chest drains, I'm thinking about, certainly volume replacement after the drugs and the positive pressure. View B sounds like the opposite. Oxygen, packaging, move. Get to somewhere safer, reassess. This approach, the first one, view A, that's protocol. That's what you would do. That's what I do by the road. Protocol correct. View B, this approach recognizes the impact of situational awareness on the rescue. The main factors involved in that are complicated and not easy to put down on paper, but it's something to do with the patient is stable, he's alive, he is breathing, but irregularly. I hope you saw some of his stats there. He's breathing what we would class as agonal breathing, but it's not agonal because it's been going on for an hour. He's breathing irregularly. He's deeply unconscious, but there's not lots of blood around, etc. So he's still alive and stable in some sense after 60 minutes. There's going to be an obligatory delay in evacuation because of the location and the weather. You can't get around that. What you can do is artificially lengthen that, and does that have an effect? So that's where we go. To explain a bit more about situational awareness, it's part of a set of training procedures for use in environments where human error can have a devastating effect. Airlines, of course. The approach is called crew resource management, and it has a number of domains as shown here. We look at each of these domains as a single team and come together with a plan. So in a matter of minutes after arriving and at the patient, making sure the scene is safe, and having performed the primary assessment, we've decided on the medical priorities, and from that, rescue decisions are prioritized as outlined here. So view B worked. So we basically packaged the patient with a full body vacuum mattress on a rigid stretcher, applied high flow oxygen. Then keeping the stretcher horizontal as much as possible and belaying it at all times, we risked our own ankles getting down this very rough terrain to just above the tarn, where we were hoping we might get a lift from a helicopter. And that took approximately 30 minutes. Here, we hoped the helicopter would intervene. Outcome? Very sick patient. Improved a bit with the oxygen. Packaging definitely improved as soon as we got him horizontal. Got him on the stretcher, got him horizontal. He was at a 40-degree head up. That's how we found him. His breathing became regular. Still a bit slow for my liking, maybe 10 a minute. His conscious level improved, probably in the region of 7 to 8, maybe to 9. We got him down this difficult slope. We minimized the number of people exposed to that because it is a very dangerous place. A helmet won't protect you from all the sorts of knocks you're going to get going down there. Got into the helicopter, gave him 250 mils of normal saline, and that dramatically improved his conscious level up to 14 out of 15. So, in a sense, alert. There's no significant head injury. Learning points there to all the teams. Shock can mimic head injury. Well, we know that. In this case, it was primarily neurogenic shock rather than hypovolemic. It's easy to think. When I've gone through this, I can see you thinking. The ones of you that are thinking, I can see that you're thinking, but he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't intubate, he didn't control the breathing, he didn't protect the breathing, he didn't give tranexamic acid, he didn't use any vasopressors, didn't use any crystalloid or blood until a later stage. Can we justify this? Are you prepared to justify this? In the digital age, we have to. Because unbeknown to me, we weren't alone, and our decisions and actions were open to scrutiny in ways that even 5 years ago we just didn't think about. Next generation, many of you people here, the next generation of mountain rescue doctors will need to understand this and to withstand intrusion. I was unaware that this rescue was being filmed. And within 9 months, it was on national television. I have taken the opportunity as the new ICAR Medcom president to try to tackle the pressing challenges of mountain emergency medicine. We've created a 10-year vision, which we're just starting on. I think it's important because many of you in the room, if you're getting involved in mountain rescue, mountain emergency medicine, you have to go beyond textbooks. You've got to learn from peers, of which there's not many, and it's really important to have a very broad idea of working in multidisciplinary, multi-agency teams and understand chains of survival and maximizing little steps all the way along. We produce fantastic graphs of some of the hypothermic casualties that survive, where the medical input is measured in a few minutes, and the rest is all about chain survival. And to get to the ECMO machine, to get rewarmed, to get the aftercare. That's the thing that makes the difference. And it's getting your breadth of knowledge and your confidence to be able to maximize little bits along the way without making things worse. My bit, particularly from the daughter's comments there, is he had 3 broken ribs. If you intubated and ventilated him, what's the chance of him having to have a chest drain on the hill in an unstable environment with boulders moving around? It's a very difficult thing to do. I must admit, my only chest drain has ever been done in 30 years was actually in the Alps when I was on holiday. But that's another story. So this vision is divided into 4 work streams, really. Research, this is led by Peter Pahl. We wish to develop a network to help ICAR members in formulating primary research, coming back to some of Herman's comments on where the research, what sort of research is being published, to increase the primary research. And we also wish to offer an advice service to anyone, not necessarily an ICAR member, who wishes to do mountain rescue projects. Believe it or not, ICAR has thousands and thousands of rescue men, women that you could study. We also have thousands and thousands of incidents throughout the world. We can do studies of bigger size quicker. Why aren't people coming to us and saying, hey, we've got this good project, can we do it? And we can put it out to our organizations, and yeah, that's a dream. Priorities, we're reviewing our guidelines. Some of them are getting a bit old. The hypothermia one's a good example. That's been reviewed possibly 3 times now since we started, maybe 4, and complete a few current projects. We're going to need to ensure that ICAR and ICAR MedCom meetings fulfill the participant needs, because our General Congress is big and expensive. Reaching out, we're doing a lot of reaching out. That's part of the reason I'm here, to conferences, congresses, allied specialities. So we're going down to Christchurch in New Zealand in a couple of years, to the Polar Institute there. And then the other really big area is educational support. And that's led by Natalie Holt, who's BMX, a German who works in South Tyrol, but largely back in Germany, I think, now. But she's just had a baby. We're assisting the Mountain Emergency Medicine book, edited by Herman and Luigi. We're leading the development of the diploma in mountain medicine. We're developing a Mountain Emergency Medicine research and training database, which will be open to everyone, where we are supporting financially open access papers of relevance to mountain rescue, and a support initiative to inform the public. There's a lot of politics around that, but we're standing by to help the dissemination of important safety advice and how to manage an accident in the mountains. A bit like some of the stuff that's been done tomorrow on this course. I think I probably should stop there. Thank you for inviting me, and thanks you for listening. Happy to answer any questions now, either now or by email. My email address is up there. I'm quite happy to discuss things by email, because I know I haven't quite gauged how good your English is. I do a lot of ICAR lectures, and sometimes I know it takes a bit of time to sink in, to get the nuances of some of the language. Okay, thank you.